Alright, my name is Justus. I'm with,
Molly Southgate.
and welcome to Power Your Story. How do you describe world building?
World building can be very tough because at least in the world I'm creating, you have to create an entire mythos for a world from scratch. So I'm writing in a fantasy genre, and you have to take all different elements from at least did from my favorite fantasy things and try and meld them together and make something original.
Yeah, that's hard with me too. That's what I'm trying to do. It's not going so well so much for me.
What is your world?
Yeah, I'm trying to get the basics down, but I gotta really take time with it.
I love to write too. So for me it's like double world building, so it can be very hard.
I like to write too. How did you get started with this hobby?
So I was very active with Edge Youth Theater, and they did well. The world building thing has been forever. Since I was really little, my parents would read me, like, we counted one day and they read me 40 picture books in one day when I was little. So I've always had that kind of element, and I would always make them play characters with me. So I've been kind of world building since forever. But when I started LARPing, particularly, which this is what the world is for, when I started doing that, it was with Edge Youth Theater, and they ran a LARP, and it was pretty much just everybody go out into the woods and play. And it was
Mm.
so much fun, and especially my team, we just created this entire dramatic side story. So that was like my first foray into like doing it more on a professional scale almost, and less like out in the backyard with my friends.
Did you say LARPing?
Yes, I did say LARPing.
What do that mean?
So, LARPing is live action role playing. So, you get a whole bunch of people to be non player characters, and they create a story and a world. And then you get a bunch of people to be players, and everyone creates a character, the players and the NPCs, and they go and play in that world. The non player characters have play still, which is very odd because they do play, even though it says they don't in their name. So they go, and the non-player characters, they know what is going to happen in the story, and they move the story along. And the players don't know what's going to happen. So they just get to experience it. It's a lot like immersive theater.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What movies or shows have inspired you?
To do this one in particular, that's tricky because, like, probably a lot of Disney stuff because that was like first into all of the fantasy things. When I was little, my first movie was Cinderella, and like getting like the first steps into like all like watching fairies and mermaids. Ariel's my favorite, so yeah. But watching all of that unfold would probably like was the first thing that jump started me into that.
Alright, why are you passionate about building your own world?
Well, it's because I love fantasy stuff, whether it's books, movies, TV, other fantasy LARPs. And part of it, why I'm so passionate about it, was because I've done so many of these. I've always thought that sounded so cool. And then eventually I went, you know what? I'm going to try this. And I did, and it started to be easier than it's very hard, but it was easier than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be like impossible. And also, I worked with Chronicles of the Realm, so Moonrise Games LARP, and I was an NPC in their LARP. And as an NPC in that one, you helped create the story. Every LARP is different. So in mine, the NPCs are helping, but it's a lot of it is on me and my friend Tim, who's co-writing it with me. But for that one, the NPCs, it was like this huge collaborative one. So that really taught me the ways. It taught me how to use a spreadsheet. It taught me so much.
It seems how hard it is. It looks easy, but it's really hard.
Yeah, like once you get into it more, you realize the different layers to it. But it's so fun. So I'm saying it's so hard, but I don't want to discourage anyone from doing it because it's amazing. It's such a great experience.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the world you're creating.
So, as I said before, it is a fantasy world, and it's called Delphana. So, in this world, the people are divided up into classes. There are the assassins, the rangers, the mages, the knights, the royals, and they're all of different races. So, there's the humans, there are the tabaxis, there's dwarves, goblins. There are so many that I'm not going to get into all of them right now, but most of us are humans in it. Some of them are just fun.
So would you say that it's more of a story or a game?
That's hard because it is very story based. That's a really good question. It does have a lot of game elements, just like a video game, but you create your own story.
So, what are some of the problems that you come across when you're creating a new character?
A lot of it is trying to fit it into the world properly. For the NPCs, I assigned them to the different classes towards the end of it because I need these certain people because they're ensemble members for my theater company. I want you guys to be in it and you guys to be in it. But towards the end, since people weren't responding to me, I was just like, okay, you will be in this class. But it was hard to make all of the stories intertwine and sell a compelling idea.
So, how did you brainstorm that? How did you combine it all?
A lot of it was video calling with the people or emailing or texting with everybody and just working through it with them. Because some people, like, their entire storyline was like, I want revenge. And this one, there is not fighting. You can go to certain fighting classes, but everyone's on a peace treaty. If you fight, you break the treaty and you're exiled. That was tricky because a lot of people had goals that were, my one goal is to kill these evil people. So I would have to write certain players and say, we might have to change that.
My final question is, were you previously a gamer, or did you used to watch like animation? Because the way you talk about NPCs and things like that, you seem like you were a gamer of some sort.
More now, I am a bit more because I love Zelda now because it's so good. But I'm actually not a big gamer. I do love watching animation stuff. It was really just the LARPing that started it because I was doing the summer camp with Edge and they were doing an all-day thing, and I was like, well, I want to do these classes in between. This thing sounds fun. I didn't really know what it was. I just went, it looks like a fantasy thing, and I am in. I get to be an elf. I am ready for this. So that's how I really got into this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
My name is Elvis, and my first question is, are there any rules or guidelines you follow when creating your world?
In this world, see, it's kind of funny because I've got these weird things in my head where I make things ridiculous. Like, seriously, go a very long way for a joke. But then they're like, oh, can there be trolls in this world? And I'm like, absolutely not. It's very funny because I kind of make it up as I go along, but it's like the information is already in my brain somewhere. So like if someone asks me a question about it, I usually have the answer to it. Otherwise, I can't really think about it. So in the world, there are the demons and angels, and they like control everything. And there's a certain amount of each. I can't remember that amount because I made the list a while ago. And that's like the one rule that I know. I'm like, okay, you cannot make any more. If someone's getting possessed, then they have to be possessed by one of them.
Oh, okay. And my second question is, what's your favorite part?
My favorite part of doing it?
Yeah.
See, you've got all the hard questions. I think my favorite part is getting to ask the players and seeing all of the answers rolling in. That was so exciting. One night I stayed up till like 11 p.m. because I was just sitting there watching people respond to it. It was just so exciting to see that the world I created was actually doing something.
And what is most challenging part?
The hardest part is probably in the same vein, trying to get people to respond to stuff. The best part is getting to write the lore and everything and seeing all the responses. The hardest part is getting people to actually read their emails.
And tell us how you got into podcasting.
This is a very long story, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So my dad was laid off from his job, and he was loving listening to podcasts. And when he was listening to them, he's like, I know that I could do this. So we created our company, and I was not a part of it at first because I was 6.5. So I was not a part of it. And my parents were like the two main people working on it. And I went, you know what? I've wanted to see this show so badly. We should totally watch it. Oh, which was my first one? I think it was Ever After. So I asked them to do a Once Upon a Time podcast, and they said yes. And yeah, it was 3 seasons in, and we had to catch up by that fall, and I believe it was summer. And we did it, and that was trickier than writing this world. Sometimes I would get up and I would be like, all right, guys, we got to do 5 episodes today. And they'd be like, we have to record 5 podcast episodes. We managed it.
What are some of your other hobbies?
Well, I'm an actress. I'm a food blogger. I love cooking so much. And I love drawing and writing, as you can tell by this.
You rather be in a movie or a TV show?
I think I would say a movie, but I would love both. But with a TV show, you sign on and it usually goes for a while. But for this, you would be able to, like, for a movie, you just get to go and you film it for like a couple months, and you get to, like, that's got more travel in it too. Because, like, if it was filming in LA, where a lot of them film, because I live in Chicago, and I would just get to travel to LA for like 2 months and film, and then come back and I would get to work on a new character for a new project.
Oh, that's good. What advice do you have for someone who wants to get started in world building?
Now I gotta think about this one for a minute. I would really say just start and don't be afraid of what you're gonna do and don't limit yourself. Because at first I was just like, we're gonna have like 5 people come and experience this. And then my mom kept going, oh, but did you invite this person yet? And this person, this person. I was like, and then I invited all of them. And then it got really exciting because now a whole bunch of my friends are going to come and experience this. So I would just say you got to put your all into it and start it. Don't make yourself small.
That's good. So thanks for answering my question.
Of course, thank you.
Our season of Power Your Story podcast, our main thing is talking about hobbies and life hacks.
Mhm.
So you mentioned one of your hobbies is that you work as a food blogger, actress, you also do podcasts and many other things. So how do you balance all of that? Knowing you have so much skills, opportunities, how would you work with that?
That's a really good question. Well, I'm homeschooled. That opens up a lot for me. So I can spend my days cultivating that. I still do math and everything, but I can do it faster because a lot of school is waiting in lines. But I can do it and just go like for like 2 hours, do that. And since I homeschool year round, I can take days off when I need to work on my LARP all day or when I have a big audition that I need to get in.
Not a lot of kids and not a lot of adults was homeschooled. So how do you explain what it's like to be homeschooled all day and all night?
Oh, it's amazing. What I do personally, I go and I use a lot of resources. I use Life of Fred for math, and I use Khan Academy for math and a whole bunch of other stuff. There's a lot going on over there. So I can just go and everything I do is very concentrated, so I can do all my studies for the day. And then I can go and work on my scripts and do that kind of thing for the rest of the day.
So how long does it take you like work for the scripts and everything like that?
Yeah, that's harder to estimate because it depends on how much I do each day. I should do about an hour a day for my scripts, but sometimes I'm busy that day. Like sometimes I'm having a play date or something and I can't really do as much.
Yeah, because a lot of people sometimes struggle to have like a healthy life and do some social things, hang out with friends and everything like that, including from work.
I know that you said that you were homeschooled. You ever get like an image of yourself ever attending a public school?
I thought about it, but it's never really worked. I was in preschool. I lasted 2 weeks, I think, which for preschool is like 3 classes. And I would come out like every time crying. And my mom was like, what's wrong? And I was just so frustrated. And I came out one time and I said, those teachers know nothing about authors. Because I was trying to tell them that an author also illustrated all of these different books. They were listening to me. So we quickly realized it wasn't a good fit. And so my dad called my mom and said, would you please get her out of there? And my mom went, okay, and took me out for ice cream.
One of the many things that I want to know is about your food blogging because I'm a huge foodie myself. So
Oh, me too.
I love food.
Oh, it's
So
so good.
I heard you have like an Instagram. Am I correct?
Yes, I have 2 actually. I have one for my food blog, and I have one for Read Between the Lines podcast. And on there, for Instagram, you always have to post a picture. So I do that, and sometimes I post quotes, sometimes I post cool artwork. Like if we've got a new episode, I would advertise that on there. Or I just post something when I would dress as book characters for Halloween when I was younger. So everything is book related. So a lot of times I just post pictures of me and my cats with books. So there's a lot of cats on there. But I post what I'm reading right then. And then for What's Molly Making, I just post stuff that I make and I eat, like when I'm out at restaurants. Or for National Kindness Day, I posted a quote about kindness and cake. Those exist, and I was very happy to find that.
Oh, that's great. So, just for career wise, knowing you're like an actress, do you have any goals in mind, like to be the next biggest actress or anything like that?
Well, I want to be like Kristen Bell because she's just amazing and I want to have every part of her career. I want to win an Oscar because that's so cool. I don't really want to be a celebrity per se, but I want to be an actress. I want to win like the awards and like do the big movies, but I don't necessarily want to be a celebrity. Like I want to do a lot of voiceover work and that kind of thing too.
So, as you get older and as you do more things, you want to do more podcasting? Do you want to continue the generation of podcasting?
Definitely. I love podcasting. I love listening to podcasts. Oh, I've listened to so many. I just discovered, okay, can I rant about a new podcast I discovered today? Because
Sure.
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Disney
go ahead.
released a podcast all about Frozen 2. They released an entire podcast about one movie, and I'm so excited, and it's so good.
Can I confess something?
Yeah.
I'm a huge Disney fan too.
It is the greatest! Who's your favorite princess?
Oh, it's so many. It's been like a list. I can't say.
Oh, I feel
I
ya.
would say Milan.
Ooh, I love her.
Even though she's technically not a Disney princess.
Okay, but
she's in the roster. But I
she's
would
in
say
the Disney princess canon, so it's very specific. Yeah, it's got a very specific thing. And Gazelle from Enchanted was actually in it, but she got taken out. And Mulan, I believe Mulan replaced her.
I don't really get that part, but it's fine. But honestly, Ariel, who else? Tiana.
Rapunzel. Rapunzel has my personality, but Ariel's my favorite.
Do you have other advice for anything like for podcasting, world building, or just like in general, if somebody wants to be an actress or another actor or anything
I'm trying
like
to think,
that?
because it's pretty much what I had said before. Like, just like go in and put your all in it. I actually wrote a chapter, and I'm so excited about this. So my parents released a book. Well, we all did, but a book of podcasters' stories. So they had a bunch of podcasters write a chapter, and I wrote one of the chapters in it. And there's more advice in there that I forgot. I know I put it in there, and I cannot remember most of what it is right now. Or it's just a very, very long story in order to get to the advice. But a lot of it's in pod life, but I can't remember it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
How do you feel knowing that you've gotten so big within the podcast community?
I've gotten so big within the podcast community. Oh, this is awesome. Thank you. This is amazing. I mean, I know a lot of podcasts. It's okay. I don't feel like I'm big in the podcast community, but I feel like my parents are. Thank you. That was quite an ego boost.
Do you ever feel like you're being shadowed by their image?
No, not really. Because I feel like I've definitely got my own brand, like with my new book podcast and stuff. I just came up to them and I was like, hey, can I put this on your network? Thank you, though, for asking that.
And what's your future for your podcast? Where do you see it going?
I just want to keep doing live shows for it. Those are so much fun. I just hope that I can keep... You know where I would love for it to go? I would love to get some authors on. Like, authors of, like, my favorite books. Like, if I got Sarah J. Maas on, I would freak out. But I would love to get those kind of people on more as guests. Because every week, it's me hosting every time, and then I have a guest come in for every episode. I don't do it weekly. Why did I just say every week? Every episode, I do that.
If you had to pick, which one would you prefer, acting or podcasting?
I would have to say acting, but I do love both.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is D'Angelo Triplett. What's your favorite food?
Now that is the hardest question I've been asked all day. I don't know if I have a favorite food. I love too many. It's probably bacon. Bacon is so good. But I love so many different types of food. Like I love bacon, sushi, tacos. So yeah, that's a good question.
So what do you learn about word building?
I've learned a lot of admin stuff from this fun. Like, oddly enough, you wouldn't think that from, like, doing, like, this crazy creative world building thing. I learned how to operate a spreadsheet and properly use Google Docs. Because a lot of what I learned about world building was from Chronicles of the Realm. Like, getting everyone in a room together and just going, you know what would be fun? Let's do this. A lot of the ideas for this started with, I think I know what would be interesting. So I'm writing this Murderous Mary Poppins play. And in it, I just go, okay, what would be the craziest, most ridiculous thing that could happen here? And then I see if it works. So for this, it's more like, what would be just fun? So I've been telling my players and my NPCs, give me some ideas. What kind of quest does your character want? Like, what would be your favorite thing? And let's see if we can try and make it happen.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
It's nice to meet you, Molly.
Oh, it's nice to meet you too, D'Angelo.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at Read Between the Lines Podcast, and that is for my book podcast. And then you can find me at What's Molly Making, and that is my food blog.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.